Hey everyone.
Hey, it is Trigger Warning 2A, and I'm Antonia Okafor.
And I'm Nina Prevot. Good to see everyone tonight.
Yes, good to see you guys. Trigger Warning 2A talks about all things Second Amendment, especially gun laws. And we're here to also talk about empowerment through the Second Amendment. But we have a lot of great guests in order to do that. And we're going to have a really special guest. And what's her name? Nina.
The Amy Robbins is going to be here tonight.
Yes, so excited.
For those of you who don't know Amy, she is a fabulous former, she's still really a model in my opinion, but she's a model, entrepreneur. She is just an amazing advocate for the Second Amendment, so she's going to be here with us today. I hope you guys are looking forward to that.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I known Amy for a long time, so I can't wait for her to join us, and she'll be joining us in just a minute. But before that, we had a lot of stuff that happened on the news. Not like the last week. Like, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
Just several things, an anniversary, an unfortunate anniversary of Columbine.
Yes, the 20-year anniversary of Columbine was this week, so that was it's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, and you were here. You're born and raised in Colorado.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about like what happened that day? Like you don't have to say how old you were, but you're like, a woman never.
Oh gosh, no, it's okay. I mean, I'm not so old where it's like embarrassing yet.
That's true. That's
well, I was Combine happened in 1999. I was 10 years old when that happened. So I was pretty little. I actually, the actual day of, it wasn't the same. Like 9/11, I knew about it. My teachers were talking about it when I was in school, all of that. But 9/11, Columbine wasn't quite like that. I found out about it when I was watching the news when I got home that night.
Okay.
And I didn't, at the time, I almost couldn't understand really what was happening. I was like, people were killed at a school? Like, what? Like, I don't know. It was really kind of the first of its kind. In terms of these school shootings, it's really started this whole long line of just horrific incidents that has been going on in our country. And this is one of those times where, at least one of the things I wanted to talk about with this is Columbine is often used as a justification for things like the red flag law. But, we don't need a red flag law to have taken care of the students who actually perpetrated this, because these were kids who were doing like psychopathic things on camera, like torturing animals and things like that. And they had weapons that they weren't, to my recollection, they weren't supposed to be in possession of them anyway, but they were still filming themselves doing target practice in the backyard. They had journals that had very disturbing contents, not just like, oh, I'm so depressed, how sad, like I hate the world, but genuinely talking about wanting to create the most harm in the world possible, specific plans, maps of the school. This is stuff when you're starting to get, it's like, okay, we have probable cause to arrest this person for about like being about to commit massive crimes. And similarly, I like I've said before, I used to work for the courts, and when I worked for the courts, there was a criminal case where these two girls, actually, it was two 16-year-old girls, were planning a school shooting it was going to be the week of like right before Christmas break, because they wanted to, in their journals, they said they wanted to inflict the most pain possible, which is really dark. So I'm sorry, guys, we're starting off on such a happy note tonight. But that was one of those times where the police intervened because there were other students at the school who had heard these kids talking about actively planning a shooting. They had maps where they had drawn the path they were going to take. They had written out their plans to buy a gun and all of, So all of this is just to say that there's a difference between actively planning to do immense harm in a really horrific way, like the people did with Columbine and like these girls were trying to do. That was in Douglas County. So there's a difference between that and just someone being depressed or having a mental health issue. And so I really don't like when people try to use tragedies like Columbine as an excuse to try to, pass these mental health bills or these red flag laws or any further gun regulations, because these are really, when I say mentally sick, I don't mean like mentally ill. I mean, these are like psychopathic people who do these things. And the red flag laws are not trying to weed out psychopaths. They're just trying to weed out anyone who might be
dangerous.
Right.
Deemed
deemed
Yes,
dangerous.
exactly.
So yeah. Look at who it is. Sorry.
Well, it's always great to be interrupted by Amy, though.
Yes.
Oh my God! Wait, am I live? Like, am I on?
No, you're not.
Visually, no.
No, you're visually not.
Okay, good, because I'm just hanging out over here.
But you can turn on just in case, because when you talk, then they can kind of see you. Not really, unless you just want to like just hold on a second, and we'll be done in a couple of seconds.
No, I'll just be quiet until y'all are ready for me.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
We're so glad you're here, though, Amy. Really, thank you.
But yeah, Columbine. And then even before that anniversary, we had a little scare. I don't know if it went national. Did it go national with the whole Denver Metro thing?
Oh, I don't know. I think it did go national. I do think that it was picked up by at least a few other places. So there was some woman, or I guess she was a high school student, excuse me. I think that she was she was that young.
Yeah.
But she came up here from Florida, of course. But the weird thing about this was we ended up shutting down all of the schools, like all the elementary schools, all of the high schools in the Denver metro area, because this woman had allegedly made threats against the schools. And I did a decent amount of research. I read a lot of articles. I could not find what her threat was whatsoever. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, we've gone for like 20 years ago, we had these kids who were doing things that obviously should be causing alarm, right? And obviously should be having the red flags going up. The parents should be worried. The school should be worried, all of that. But then we have this woman who, admittedly, she had some weird stuff in her diary too about wanting to do a school shooting, but there was nothing specific. And she had come to Colorado because she said that it was going to be easier to buy a gun here or something like that.
Which I don't understand, because does she have a okay, so first of all, someone told me that she's actually from Littleton or whatever.
Oh, see, this is what there's all
because you're not
drove up from Florida to do this.
Drove up? No, I heard that she flew in.
See, the media is awful, guys.
Okay, yeah, obviously we don't even know our facts on that one. That one was very, and then the last minute we've heard of, suicide by cop. That's what the first thing that I started thinking about was like, why would you tell someone? Because the thing I heard was that she alerted the FBI herself. She flew over from Miami to here, and they actually, did you know that they knew, like, they didn't lock down a lot of the schools the day before became like where they didn't go back to school next day. They locked down schools that day, then let them go. Then the next day said, oh, we still can't find her.
Right.
We're not going to have people go to school.
And then when they found her like dead, as if she had shot herself in the head, even though she hadn't perpetrated a school shooting. Like, she hadn't harmed anybody yet, but she had killed herself. So there's something weird with this story.
Yeah, very
people were really freaked out and like, this is like another reason for more gun control, especially in Colorado. But it just seems, it's like, we don't know what she was threatening. We found her dead, but meanwhile, all our schools were shut down. And I just think that we've had enough tragedies in Colorado where people are a little bit, they're hypersensitive, and so any word that something might happen, and we just shut everything down. But that's kind of what, in my opinion, that's sort of letting them win. That's kind of, we're letting the fear get a hold of us, especially with vague threats like that. I think
that's hard. It is hard, though. I mean, because if she had done something, then we would have been like Florida.
Right.
A little bit. I mean, I'm not saying it was the complete, I mean, he did have stuff also that were obviously, warning signs, not gonna say red flags. You noticed it. Warnings about that. And so, and they refused to actually act several times. But that's why this whole situation is a complicated issue.
That guy making like specific threats to that school, or no?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I'm like, what different sources are we getting stuff from in the news? Because there was one source saying that she did tip them off, and she did say stuff like, I was obsessed with Columbine, and I'm going to go and do it. And that's why I'm going from Miami to Colorado.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know. These are all, but literally doing research, and like, there's like several different stories of, I mean, that's why it's ridiculous. There's no clear proof. And if you notice, no one's talking about it anymore. So,
Right. It just kind of
but
went
someone's
away.
dead.
Even in the Denver media, it's not showing up in my Twitter feed anymore. I'm gonna peek at the live chat just to see if anyone's talking about this. Someone says, I was 27 years old. I remember that day well. Someone says I was 22. Gun laws only hurt law-abiding citizens.
Yes, I do.
Our answer is yes.
And trigger warning 2A will say yes. Gun laws being very hurting.
Gun-free zones are called fish in a barrel zones around where I live. Yeah, I mean that kind of is true. I always liked that meme where it's a bunch of sheep and it's just a sign that says like no wolves allowed, and that's supposed to protect the sheep, right? It's like if you can hear us.
Nope. Wait. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I can hear you now.
You can hear us now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Sorry, I messed it up. Yes, we can hear you. Do you mind putting your video on? That way you just see your beautiful face.
Turn camera on.
Yeah.
Okay, I did.
Is it on?
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, there you are.
Hi.
Little bangs.
Don't let friends get bangs. You know, I saw a meme the other day that said when your friend is wanting to get bangs, convince them to go get lash extensions, and I understand why. Like well, because I wanted to change you always looked so cute with bangs, and I loved your bangs, and I'm like, I needed a quick change to my hair, bangs, and now it's like, you know, you gotta fix your hair. I'm constantly messing with him, but it's the I gotta get up and fix my hair now thing that is driving me crazy. So.
Yeah, that is true. It has to be perfectly like in one, otherwise like
it's like Dwight Schrute
right there. Yeah.
Otherwise, you look like Dwight Schrute. Like I wanted Bridget Bardot, and sometimes I feel like I come out looking like Dwight Schrute, and I'm like, dang it! And I just kind of like hair dry everywhere. How are y'all doing? Good to see you, Nina.
Good. Oh my goodness.
I'm glad to be on the show with you guys. I'm excited about what you're doing. This is a great idea, and I'm glad y'all are together in Colorado getting this done.
It's like,
we're happy too. We're in the same place.
It's like, hey, I'm moving to Colorado. Like, want to hang out? Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Aw, I'm like looking at your background. I'm just like, oh, all the times I've been there.
I know. Is it making you miss Texas?
Oh, of course it's making me miss Texas. Being in Texas makes me miss Texas. Of course, no, what I do not miss is the rain. And we had rain here the last couple of days, and I'm like, if I wanted rain, I could go to Dallas. Okay. Like thanks, Colorado.
yeah. Like certain times of the year. It's been raining a lot. You know, right now it's hail season. I don't know if y'all get hail in Colorado or not, but
oh, we do.
You
we get big hail.
Yeah, bad.
It's like we'll have on and off years, but we'll have years where it's just horrible hail for.
Yeah, this is like the hail season in Texas right now, and so
yeah.
Not a fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on, Texas. I love you so much. But yeah.
But Amy, for those of the audience that are watching who don't know you, how about you give a little introduction about your fabulous self?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll start by telling you guys kind of what I do with the company that I have. So I launched a company back in October 2017 called Alexo Athletica. I know it's a mouthful, but Alexo Athletica. Alexo actually means to defend and to help in Greek. And so the whole idea behind our line is when I was training for my marathon a few years ago, I was always having to run with things in my hands. And I had a thing happen where nothing happened horrible, but I had an incident where a car had slowed down and followed me while I was on these back roads running by myself. And he slowed down enough, went to the end of the stop sign area, turned back around, and then stared at me and slowed down again all the way, like until he drove past me. And I tell people, I'm like, luckily that's where my story ended. my story ended right there. Nothing bad happened, but it was the first time in my life that I actually started thinking about my safety. And I remember feeling extremely defenseless and helpless. And when I got home, I was like, I never want to feel like that again. And I had been working with NRA TV, hosting a show with them. And so I was like getting into firearms. I was like starting to feel really confident about my proficiency with them. I was feeling really good about them, but I hadn't made that next step to get a license to carry. And that was kind of my aha moment, that I wanted to have something with me at all times that made me feel like I could defend and protect myself. And so I took the steps to get my license to carry. And then I was like, I want to run with it, but where am I supposed to put this on my body when, when I'm running? Because I lived in workout clothes. So there was nothing in like the self-defense space or the gun space that I thought was cute enough for my taste. And then there was nothing that was functional in the athletic space. Lululemon did not have holsters in their leggings, unfortunately. And I really wanted to continue like my normal way of life, but there was just nothing on the market. So I decided to fuse the two worlds together and come out with this line. And we launched it in October 2017. And apparently a lot of women have this same need. We're starting to see this influx of women that are like taking responsibility for their safety. And we're just really happy to be able to give them some functional clothing options to make it easy to conceal carry whatever it is they want to carry with them. Whether it's a firearm, whether it's a mace or it's a taser or anything like that. We just want women to keep some tool on their body to help take their safety in their own hands, because we know that there's not always going to be somebody around to take care of you. So
absolutely. I love actually, I don't know if I've heard maybe I've heard it some like in just passing or something, heard the story of you, running and that happening to you, and thankfully again, that story did end that way.
Yep. Well, yeah, because you've got cases like Molly Tibbetts and Woody Martinez where and thousands more that didn't end that way. And it was funny because I remember being back there having this false sense of security, thinking I'm in the middle of nowhere. Nothing is ever going to happen to me out here. But it wasn't until cars would like come over the hill that I would start thinking, what am I going to do if something were to happen? I was planning my escape routes. Am I going to jump the barbed wire fence? I'm not going to be able to outrun them, because more than likely the man is bigger than me, stronger than me, and faster than me. So then what's my option? Pull out my cell phone? And then I got to try to explain to the cops where I'm at. I mean, all these little things started making sense to me. And I was putting pieces together going, my best fighting chance is to have some form of a self-defense tool. And for me, I was like, you know what? I just want to stop it completely. None of this slowing them down by spraying them with mace in the face or tasing them to give me an extra 30 seconds to run away. If my life is being threatened, I want to eliminate the threat. I want it to be over with, and then I want to get the heck out of there. And to me, I was most comfortable with the firearm because I think that's the greatest equalizer when it comes to men and women being on the same playing field. So yeah, and I found out very quickly that I wasn't alone in that. As I started researching, Runner's World actually did a really great article like asking runners if they've ever felt threatened or felt, concerned for their safety. And they said 54% of women have felt concerned for their safety while they run or walk. 43% of them have been harassed on a run, and 30% have actually been followed. And when I tell men these statistics, I'm like, guys, you might not get it because maybe you don't get catcalled when you're out running and walking, but even something as like ridiculous as getting men to like honk at you and roll their windows down and woo woo, you don't know what that can turn into. And you don't know where it can go from there. And I'm like, it's uncomfortable. And I just wanted to make sure that I had something with me at all times, if it did escalate to something more than a cat call or more than someone slowing down and following me.
Absolutely. And I'm the same way. Because I lived in Boston for a while, and as you probably know, the gun laws in Boston are not that friendly.
Not friendly.
And actually for a time, they've changed this, but for a time, it was actually not even okay for you to carry pepper spray in the city of Boston.
They changed it outside of schools. Schools, they still have,
right.
You're not allowed to.
And I definitely felt unsafe walking around in Boston, especially at night. You know, I was a college student. I didn't have a car there. So to walk to public transportation, walk to my apartment. But, you know, it was effectively illegal for me to protect myself. And I'm not even someone who wants to carry mace. Like, if someone is going to try to assault me violently or like sexually assault me, like I want that threat eliminated. I don't want him just like, my eyes. Like, no, like that guy's going to get shot.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, you know, you don't ever know too, when you're coming up against somebody what they're on. You don't know if pepper spray is going to be effective. You don't know if a taser is going to be effective. You know, there's been instances when bullets aren't effective right off the bat, you know? And so I'm just sitting here thinking, now, again, I'm a proponent for women having something with them. But for me, I just started really thinking through all of these scenarios. And I'm like, you know, if I'm going to pull something, like I would rather pull it and just be done with this if my life is being threatened, you know, if something horrible is going to happen to me. And so, yeah, but it's crazy you say that because I travel a lot and there's a lot of states I can't take my firearm. And I am like shocked by how many states my Kimber Pepper Blaster is illegal in because it's over 2.5 ounces or it's got an aerosol. Lord, God forbid I hurt my perpetrator and I send them to the hospital by getting a gel in their eye that, you know, like it's just insane as a woman that they would put blocks to my protection. You know, especially since we know the cops can't be there. I mean, I don't even know what the call time is right now in Los Angeles. I'm in Los Angeles all the time. And it's like, it's a really long time. I mean, if someone wants to do something to me, the cops aren't getting there to stop it anytime soon, you know, and God bless them. I love the cops, but there's just not enough of them to step in and stop anything. So,
yeah.
Right.
And so with Alexo, like I love Alexo, obviously. You guys are doing great things. So you guys have a few interesting, or maybe even say funny stories when it comes to the media getting wind of what you're doing. Can you talk about the Tommy Lahren story and how that worked out and everything?
Oh, yeah, I can. And I'm so sorry. My dog is freaking out.
Oh, it's your dog.
Yeah, that's Penny. I'm like, she is barking. And I think you just asked me to tell the stories about the Tommy Lahren thing. You know, the craziest thing to me about Tommy, so Tommy did a post for us last March, and that's really kind of what launched us, just recognition-wise. And 50% of it was good, 50% of it was negative, you know? And the most interesting thing to me was like the negative articles that were getting written were mostly from other women.
Oh.
And it was from women that were in, you know, very left-leaning states that clearly like didn't have any knowledge at all about firearms. And I'm like sitting here going, ladies, you know, shouldn't we all be on the same page at least to be able to like all agree that we should be able to defend and protect ourselves, you know? And the more I get out there and I speak about this stuff, the more I'm realizing not every woman actually is on board with us about needing to protect ourselves. And then when you bring up having a self-defense tool to take it to that level, the shock and the utter like horror on their face that you would even dare to have a taser or mace to protect yourself is like appalling to them. And I was like, wow, we're really kind of up against a very odd mentality right now, because I thought at least we could all get on the same page that women should have the right to be able to defend and protect themselves. And we're just not seeing that all the time. Thankfully, majority of the feedback has been really positive. But if you do get those one or two media outlets that absolutely just don't think that women should have firearms at all, or anything for that matter, you know, but
oh yeah,
all press is good press. So
yeah, girl,
I'm fine with that. You know, you've got the diehards who see the negative press that's written and are like, I'll show you, media, and then they'll buy 5 pairs of pants, you know. so it's been really interesting over the last year. I think a lot of the negative press really has died down because I think they're starting to see more and more in the news now about this happening to women. You used to never hear about this stuff. They would never report the women that were killed while they were jogging. And now you're actually starting to hear it a little bit more. I wish we would end the stories by giving women like options to not let this happen to them.
Right, how to protect yourself?
I have yet to see that reported in the news. You know, if Molly Tibbetts would have had something, if Wendy Martinez would have had something. In Boston, you know, this happened maybe a month ago. A girl left her friends after her birthday party and just never made it home, and, you know, ended up in the trunk of a car. And of course, the stories that get reported end right there. They never want to offer a solution to say, hey, ladies, let's think about first situational awareness. You know, it's like they just don't want to take any personal responsibility. I don't know if they think they're victim blaming if they do that, or what the mentality is when it comes to that. But, you know, I would like to see more media outlets actually promoting how women can not let this happen to them in the future.
Yeah. And the solution they do give, right, is always not about women. It's always about men.
Yeah, men.
Like,
men
men
need to stop assaulting women. This has been happening since the beginning of Earth, people. It's called evil. It's called, these are simple people that are going to do things whether or not, I mean, like, so instead of waiting around for men to change, like, be proactive and be prepared. And, you know,
obviously. Never gonna change.
Waiting for men to change.
Waiting for men to change. I mean, and then let's also be honest, like, not every man is out there ready and willing and waiting to assault women. You know,
right. They're protectors. They're made that way to protect.
Right.
So,
yeah.
They demonize men when really that is what they're built for. Unfortunately, people use it again for evil.
Yeah.
Because they can.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I appreciate what you were talking about with other women who you've talked to, and you were like, everyone has got to be on the same page with this, right? But I found the same thing even with some friends that I was really close with when I started to be more vocally advocating for the Second Amendment, especially for the sake of women. And, you know, I was called a traitor. I was called all kinds of things. And someone said, why would you betray your fellow women by supporting the rights of an inanimate object more than the rights of a woman? And it's like, I'm not supporting the rights of an inanimate object.
I know.
I'm supporting your rights.
I know.
Your right to defend yourself. Your right to get rid of a rapist in a way that is actually effective.
Yeah. Well,
heaven forbid I promote that.
Well, I'm telling this story now everywhere I go because it was Antonia, I know you speak on college campuses all the time. You see this all the time. And I always used to hear your stories and be like, that's probably just because she's speaking in New York and in California and whatever. I went to go speak at a college campus a couple weeks ago, actually like a month ago. And I went to talk to a sorority and didn't even mention the firearm. I was simply going to talk situational awareness and how they could stay safe on campus, and then talk about my line in like Alexo in the context of like how this could help them, and brought 3 alternative, like non-lethal self-defense tools with me to the speech. It was a Kimber Pepper Blaster, a Yellow Jacket stun gun case, and a Taser Defense Pulse, right? And I'm like bringing them. I'm like, yeah, these girls are going to love it. Like, I'm helping them so much. I'm helping them, you know, they're going to love me after this.
And then reality set in.
Yeah, no, lo and behold, afterwards, and I don't care. I mean, like, I will totally call up this sorority because at this point, it's Chi Omega sorority. And the sorority mom came up to me afterwards and was like, you really scared our girls in there. You're going to need to put those self-defense tools away so that none of them are scared when they come out of the meeting. And I'm like, and y'all, since then, they've tried to get us to take down our podcast talking about this story. They've tried to get us, and I'm just sitting here going, what in the world is going on that we want to keep our women so sheltered?
It's money.
But I'm like, they're in the middle of Denton, like not the nicest area in the world. You would think that they would be happy for someone to come and teach them their ways and teach them how to be safe. And because just a few weeks earlier, there was, you know, some sexual assault that had happened after a fraternity party. And instead of telling everybody about it and helping them stay safe, they just try to keep it under wraps and keep it really quiet on campus. And it's like, is it scarier to see a pepper blaster, or is it scarier to get sexually assaulted? I'm not sure here. You know, why don't you try to give them tools and resources to help them so that this doesn't happen to them, instead of trying to then give them counseling after the fact? Let's try to help them be proactive and be prepared, you know, but.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know why the focus is not on prevention of this.
I don't either.
It's just like,
because I think it's personal responsibility, you know, like there's just been this complete and utter, I don't even know the word, like people don't want to take personal responsibility for anything these days, and taking it for your self-defense. And if you're going to take personal responsibility for your safety, then you have to acknowledge that something's wrong in the world.
Right.
You know, and people don't want to do that. So
yeah. No, that's definitely part of the problem. And I told you, even those that would say, like, you know, they are pro personal responsibility, or say Republican or conservative, or even allowing others to exercise their Second Amendment rights. It's at the end of the day, it's if you don't believe it's for you, then you're not going to really truly believe that everyone should.
Yeah.
Right? But it actually comes down to you, taking that vote, like actually making the vote that would determine if people can or not. That's what I hear. I mean, that's what I'm starting to realize too with those. Obviously, it's not just if you're conservative Republican that you're pro 2A, and those who are Democrats who are. But at the end of the day, though, you also still have to reconcile the fact that you're voting for people who are going to implement policies that are very blatantly not in favor of allowing you, that individual, to have that right.
Well,
I think they always think somebody else.
That's a sad thing to me, because I always say, like, the Second Amendment should not be a political issue here.
Yeah,
like it should not come down to one party is for it and one party is against it, because at the end of the day, the Second Amendment is for all of us, and it protects all of our other rights. And if you lose your Second Amendment, we're going to lose all the other rights, because then you don't have the right to defend and protect your freedoms and your liberties anymore. And so this shouldn't be a political issue. And I hate that it has turned into such a hard line political issue when it shouldn't be. And, you know, I get emails all the time from, I actually love these emails when they're like, by the way, you know, I'm a hardcore Democrat, but I love my guns. And I'm like,
yeah,
well, good. I mean, like,
you should.
I didn't say you can't.
You should. I mean, like, it should not be this, it's only for Republicans, because it's not. It really is there for all of us. But unfortunately, the Democratic Party has been hijacked by people who absolutely don't believe in the Second Amendment, and they want to strip it away from everybody. And that's a really unfortunate thing, because I think there are still a lot of Democrats that believe in the Second Amendment. You know, it's just their party has been hijacked by extreme leftists that don't want those rights for anybody, you know? Nope. Can you hear me? I don't know what happened. Weird. Test, test, test. That's so weird. Hey, everybody, I think they're having some technical difficulties right now. If you can hear me, wonderful. If not, we should be back online here in just a second. Leave us your comments below. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know your stories. If you've, come up against this, if you've had anything happen to you while you've been on a walk or a run, comment below. Would love to hear your stories. In the meantime, you can follow along all of our journeys with Alexo Athletica at Alexo Athletica on Instagram and Facebook. You can go check out all of our products at alexoathletica.com.
Hello,
And
hello.
I hear you.
Can you hear us now? Yay!
Yeah.
Our audience is like, yeah, they have technical difficulties.
We just took a quick break by this episode sponsor Alexo Athletica.
I know, we heard you. Thank you, Amy. You're awesome.
You're so awesome and amazing. What happened was my microphone died, even though I just replaced the batteries in it. I don't understand what happened. And then Antonia's microphone just stopped working. So
like, we don't need to hear us. We need to hear Amy anyways. Obviously, that's what it's about.
Thank you for covering for us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Question from the audience.
I just want to say, or I just want to check the live chat real quick. Someone says, let's see, guns are the great equalizer. A 5'1", 95-pound woman can be just as safe as a 6'8", 260-pound dude, all thanks to the good friends at Smith & Wesson. Yeah, exactly.
Or Kimber.
Yeah.
or whatever.
Or whatever.
Or Glock or Big Power. I'm not partial to any of you. If any of you want to send me a firearm, I will shoot them all, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
But to that, you know, if a 95-pound woman is going to carry a firearm, the firearm is only effective in her hands if she's trained with that firearm, knows how to use it. You know, I believe every woman, no matter what their size, can learn the skills. They can learn to be proficient. They can get trained. I do not like when people say women didn't need to carry firearms because it's going to be taken and used against them. Well,
oh my goodness.
That's true if you, are not getting training with it. If you're not being responsible with your firearm. But I think every woman has the ability within themselves to go and get that training. They can increase their confidence level. They can increase their proficiency with it. You just have to put the time in. We're talking about a tool that has the potential to be a deadly tool if it's not used correctly. So take that responsibility very, very serious. Get the training that you need, know where it is on your body, practice with it wherever you're going to carry. You know, I'm a big proponent for on-body carry. I used to do the whole off-body carry thing myself when I first started the journey of concealed carry because honestly, it was I knew how firearms worked, but for some reason I just thought mine was going to go off like by itself. That was a lack of education on my part. That was a lack of training on my part. And the more I got into training and I truly started becoming comfortable with them, I realized that was just not the case, that the trigger actually had to be pulled in order for that to happen. And that's when I started getting more comfortable with on-body carry. But in order to do that, I had to go and educate myself, you know, otherwise that gun in my purse is probably not going to help me at a moment's notice when I need it, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I had the same journey too. And I mean, I've told people before that not long ago, I felt the same way. I was like, I'm going to start concealed carrying, but I'm just to like get acclimated to it. I'm just not going to have any ammo in there. Just, you know, to
I didn't buy ammo for a long time. I just had the gun and no ammo. It's just like, I have it.
You know what? I guess you could hit him in the head with it.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. I didn't even think about it then. I was like,
what is that called when you just like hit him in the, like a pistol whip, like, or you just like butt him in the head with it. Yeah. I'm like, that will hurt. But again, I think you're going to piss them off a lot more.
At least if you're going to have a really heavy purpose, you're going to do that. But yeah, I know. Well, I mean, you can still do that. But yeah, I needed time. Like either that or I wasn't going to carry it, period. Like if I was just really scared at that time, even some people were like, look, it won't do that to you. It can't do that. I just had to see it for myself.
Yeah, my dog out really fast. Hold on. It's just okay. Open the door and I will be right back.
And for those of you who are watching in the live chat while she is letting her wonderful dog out, if you guys have questions for Amy, you know, now's a great time to put them in the live chat.
Absolutely.
Especially, she's already back. Look at that.
But she just had to run out the door. She was going to do that all day long. When dad's not home, the dogs like freak out. So
really, aw,
they do. I know. But anyways, where were we? Training on body, off body carry.
Yeah, and then people. I mean, it's just everyone has their own journey, and I think that's what people feel like. I felt like in the beginning, like I had to be perfect, especially at that time. Like I was already an activist, a public activist, and here I was trying to get through that. You know, just the process. I'm still learning, but I mean, from the grip, and then getting made fun of because of my grip, and like the whole journey is just like what's sad about that too is that other women who or people in general who are wanting to get into it and who are newly like, into this whole world of looking at other people being, harassed or made fun of because they're in the beginning of their journey and they're like, well, maybe I should even start. I'm going to get laughed at.
This service that a lot of people, and I think has kept a lot of people from getting into it. Back in the olden days, when I was getting into this, like 5 years ago, there were not other women that were doing this unless they were, former military, law enforcement, or they were really into the tactical side of things. And I was just not a tactical person at all. I was just a normal, everyday woman who believed in the Second Amendment, who had a gun that would sit on my nightstand at nighttime. But that was the extent of my knowledge of firearms. And I have to be honest, like I did not feel like I was a part of this quote unquote gun community because I think I had a stereotype in my head of what a gun person looked like. And as I got into it, I started realizing like, okay, those are silly stereotypes. Yes, there are some people out there that are extremely hardcore. They take it very serious. They've been in life and death situations that their training has to be to another level. So their perspective is very different. But what I don't like is when those people force their perspectives on other people instead of letting everybody like kind of have this organic journey themselves. Yeah. And so I felt like that became a really big sense of purpose for me and why I was doing what I was doing. It's why I went and got my firearm instructing license. It's why I started a blog. I wanted women to know that they didn't have to sacrifice their fashion for function. And, and I've been connecting with a lot of other women who are just like me, everyday normal women who just wanted to learn how to exercise their Second Amendment, but didn't know where to start. I remember being terrified to walk into a gun store the first time. And I was like, I don't know what any of these things are. I would have probably never gone and bought a gun by myself without having a man with me. And, I think a lot of women were like that, but now there are resources. It's why we started our podcast, Not Your Average Gun Girls podcast. And it was the whole notion that there are so many of us who don't feel like we fit a stereotype. We didn't feel like we were the average gun girl, whatever your idea of an average gun girl was. And so we wanted to show people like, well, we're not your average gun girls. I mean, I guess we like to put makeup on and I can wear high heels to the gun range if I want to. I broke my heel one time shooting guns. Remember?
Oh, yes. In the desert, in the Vegas desert. The best place
high
to.
heel. I thought you meant like the bone in your heel.
No, my high heel, my stiletto broke right on off of there. Yeah, it was for a good cause though.
And you look great doing it.
I know, it was totally worth it. The photo that you took was amazing, so it was completely worth it.
Oh my goodness, I missed that. So we did it for those who are like, I'm not getting in on the joke. So Amy and I were blessed to be in this awesome music video from Kaya Jones. It was called Tonight. It's called Tonight. And we got to shoot in the Vegas desert. It was awesome. I know. Yeah.
We definitely felt like not average gun girls.
Yes, we definitely did. Oh man. I'm about to have my bachelorette party. I feel like we need to have that for my bachelorette party.
We really should.
We really should.
What we need to do for your bachelorette party. Yes. But that's what I'm saying. Like where we are now, where we've progressed now, I feel like women are really leading the charge for getting the Second Amendment to become a more mainstream topic. And I think it's becoming a little bit more accepted now because so many women are starting to speak up and saying, whoa. Like, I want firearms for my personal protection, and I don't want anyone to tell me what I can and cannot do when it comes to my decision for my safety. And, we are the fastest growing demographic of firearm owners. And it's great to see that. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot more companies come out with practical clothing options and things for women to start making it easier and more comfortable to carry.
I hope so. And that's why I wanted you to end with the entrepreneurial side. I love watching your Insta stories and how you'll motivate me. I mean, you'll motivate a lot of women who just on the entrepreneurship side of how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur. And you're still a talk show host. You're still I mean, you're a podcast host too. You're still doing a lot of the media side of things. Still modeling. I'm sure you're still modeling on the side, of course.
I'm like the cheapest model we can find. So
like, let me pay for a plane ticket.
Drew will not let me not model for Alexo yet.
Oh yeah, that's true. I know. I mean,
it's a marketing cost now.
You're a great model. Can you tell, young women who are wanting to be entrepreneurs, can you just give a little bit of advice there, and you've learned a little bit too?
Absolutely. I love talking to women about this because I understand. I think the first challenge that a lot of women have when it comes to really wanting to go after that dream is, I think a lot of us fall into what I call the comfort zone trap. And we want to be comfortable when it comes to our finances, comfortable when it comes to the security of our future. And comfort is really like the biggest killer of your dreams, because nothing big ever happens inside that comfort zone. You have to take that chance, step out. And I call it moving from your comfort zone to your calling. So for any of those of you who've ever felt like something so deep down inside of you that you want to go after something, whether it is starting a clothing company, whether it is starting a 501c3, going to law school and having your own practice, like whatever it is, a blog. I mean, it doesn't matter how big or how small that dream is. It's just knowing that you have to take those first steps, and it's not going to be easy. You got to count the cost and know that no matter, you have to be willing to put in the long hours, the sleepless nights when all your friends are going on vacation and you don't get a vacation for 2 years, maybe longer. You don't pull a paycheck for 2 years. I still haven't pulled a paycheck yet from my company, and it's okay. Like there's things though that have to be greater and bigger that you're passionate about, that you're willing to sacrifice these things for. And if you are willing to do that, you are going to see what your life was truly made for. Mm-hmm. And so I just love to encourage women to know, like, it's not easy. I don't like to show the glamorous side of entrepreneurship because I haven't experienced it yet. And
the bangs.
Outside of
the bangs.
Oh yeah, I got some of the bangs. Outside of, like, I love working for myself. I love it. And I love setting my own schedule. I love knowing that the success of the company rests on my shoulders. And so I love that. But outside of that, like, it's not that glamorous. It's not that glamorous yet. I think it will be. I think it's going to pay off in the end. But I like to show people just how hard it is, but let them know that they can overcome it. And you're going to want to give up a million times, but just don't give up. No, like you've got to have your plan, and you've got to work that plan. And then you're going to start seeing the success and the fruit of your labor. So yeah, I mean, I love encouraging young entrepreneurs because it just excites me. Like, I remember like how exciting it is to watch them. And then I also love to jump and come alongside of them when they start to get really down and discouraged, and be like, hey, don't give up. Keep your blinders on, keep your focus on, keep moving forward. There's light at the end of the tunnel. You're going to make it. Because I've been through all that myself. So.
Right. And I fully agree with you, especially, it's important to warn young women that if they do start a business, there is a tunnel or this, my fiance is also an entrepreneur. And before I started, he was like, I was so confident. I was like, oh, I'm a lawyer. I have such a high billable rate. It'll be fine. Like, I have savings, like, it'll be good. But there will be a tunnel before you get to the like monetary rewards on the other side. But the difference is that when you do get to the other side, all of the monetary rewards are yours, and like 100% yours.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're from your own making too. Right. It's not like that's the thing with feminists that bothers me, because they don't promote entrepreneurship that much. But if they really are sick of all the men being CEOs, like, go start your own company, girl. You're already CEO.
I say that all the time. I'm like, stop complaining about it. Go do something about it.
Yeah.
Like, stop trying to sit around and wait for some government mandate to come down the tunnel to give you a position in a company. Like, maybe you're ready for it, maybe you're not. Like, go earn it. And if you keep getting overlooked and you keep getting passed up and it's ticking you off, like, go do something about it. You always have the decision to go a different direction and to make another route. And, you know, as hard as it is, I mean, look, there's definitely times in my life I could sit and complain that being a woman business owner, I got a lot harder than a male business owner. And I choose not to look at it that way.
Yeah.
I choose to let it drive me and keep saying, you know what, then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go find great men that can be mentors to me, that can help me. Like, you can actually learn a lot of things from men. And that's the thing I think is sad with feminists. I'm like, you guys are missing out on the fact that like you actually need to learn how to work with men and to get things accomplished. You know, like, men are in the business world and there's things that you can learn from them along the way. But I want to learn as much as I can so that I can be a woman mentor for other women who are trying to navigate through this, because business isn't easy whether you're a man or a woman. Like, there's just a lot to learn and a lot to navigate. And there are so many things I did not know about starting a business. I knew about vision. I knew about vision and like hard work, and I knew how to mobilize people.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to file my taxes. Like, I didn't know what certain tax things I needed to set up. And so like I started seeking out people who knew a lot more than I did in a lot bigger areas. I started putting people in place where I'm like, I need your help because I don't know what I'm doing here. And please, like, come alongside of us, and can you be on my advisory board? Can you be a mentor to me? And it's stepping out again. There's so many, this whole process has taught me how to step out of my comfort zone in so many ways, because I'm not naturally good at asking people to help me. And I realized I can't make it through this unless I ask people to help me. And, you know, and I've also like, there's so many things that I want. I think I'm going to write a book one day about.
Oh, yeah. I was going to tell you, I hope you do. You need to.
For women, because, you know, I just think that so many things paralyze us in those first initial stages of wanting to start a company. And, you know, you can either give into it and then not ever move forward, or you can take the chance. And then and I always say there's no failure when you're going for it. Just learn from your mistakes and move on. Like, set your goals for yourself. If you get to a point like where it's just not working anymore, you didn't fail. Like, learn from your mistakes and then start something else and go on. You know, stop being so paralyzed by the fear of failure that it keeps you from even going for it.
Right. And that's actually one of my favorite lady entrepreneurs is Barbara Cochran. She's on the Shark Tank. I'm sure that, I don't know if she'll like that I'm quoting her on here. But she talks about how the difference between her successful entrepreneurs and the ones that fail is how long they feel sorry for themselves.
Absolutely.
Speed bump. And that's something I've experienced too. It's like, there's going to be days where you just want to give up. It's like, if everything's on your responsibility, you just want to be like, I don't want to deal with it. It's too much responsibility. Just let someone else take this. But if you feel sorry for yourself, you can never move forward. And it's better to just keep plowing ahead. Like 90% of life is showing up, right?
Yep. You're absolutely right. So yeah, I mean, just getting in that right mindset before you even get started, just knowing this is going to be hard. Yeah. There's going to be days, I don't know if you've ever seen that pie chart or that graph of the life of an entrepreneur. You need to Google it, where it's literally like, you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm going to seize the day. And then you're like, I suck. No, this is going wonderful. And then it's like, I'm a total failure. This is going nowhere. And it's like, that is literally a day. Like, you will experience every single one of those emotions every single day when you're an entrepreneur, and you just cannot give into it. You have to keep pushing forward. You have to keep saying like, okay, what was my goal? And that brings me back, we were talking about like the monetary benefits of being an entrepreneur are great. But I also think like you have to have something that's driving you even bigger than that, even bigger than the monetary gains, because you may not see the monetary gains for a while.
For a long time.
And even when you do, like, you know, the happiness can't terminate on the monetary gains. Like, there's so much more that you get from being an entrepreneur that you got to know that what you're out there striving for and doing is solving a problem, and the people that you're helping have got to be driving you to do this. And like the passion that you have for whatever your project or your product is has got to keep you going, and has to be what is rewarding to you, because there's going to be days the money's not there, but does the other part of it keep you going?
Absolutely. Love
Yeah,
that.
I agree. If you are, I mean, you don't have to be a woman either to be an entrepreneur, but if you're considering being one, it really should be something that you care about, because there's going to be, like you said, there's going to be weekends when you have to work, nights when you have to work, when you'd rather just open a beer and hang out or whatever. And so it has to be worth it to you. So choose something that you really care about and that you love doing, something that you can sink your teeth into.
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely.
And I'm sorry to go back to this, but I do want to see what our live chat's talking about. It seems like people are arguing. Someone asked if you had an FFL, Amy. I don't know if you want to speak to
Man,
that.
they really want to figure out if we have FFL.
Wait, like, do I have an FFL that I send stuff to, or am I myself, like, do I have an FFL?
I think, is it the same person?
It is. I think it is the same person.
Yeah.
It just says, ooh, does Amy have an FFL? Is the entire question.
I have an FFL that I get all of my guns sent to, yes. But
you are not
an FFL. Like, people,
Oh, if we were. Oh.
So, yes, I do. I have a great one, actually, in Dallas. And our transfer fees are pretty great in Texas. I like that we can get them pretty inexpensively. I was talking to some people out in California that can spend up to $125 per transfer fee. And I'm like, bad for you.
Actually, even there's other states with cheaper ones too. It's kind of funny, but
cheaper than Texas. I mean, we're probably not the most inexpensive, but we are inexpensive compared to California. So,
that's true.
That's very
California
true. And everything, taxes, everything.
It's awful.
Man. Gun laws.
We don't. There's not a lot of questions. I mean, there's plenty of comments that I'm sure we agree with. Things like statistics show a well-armed society is a civilized society.
Yeah.
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 We agree. I know a lot of this.
Agree.
Criminals do not care about gun laws. 97% of criminals obtain their guns illegally. I don't know about that statistic.
I know.
I feel like that statistic might be 50-50. But I
mean, you're right. I would agree. They definitely, that's why they're criminals.
Yeah, they're doing things
by the law.
I mean, that's why it comes down to it not being about the tool, and we always are making it about that. And like, the whole, it was funny when you said like, you were saying that like, I'm not a fan of giving rights to an inanimate object. It's like, okay, we kind of do that to ourselves with being, even when I say gun rights activists, I'm like, we are doing that. I'm like, okay, well, Second Amendment activists, empowerment activists.
Empowerment activists. You like that, yeah.
We should shoot ourselves in the foot when we do that stuff. But yeah, I think they get what we're saying. It's just that they really do still believe, even if they didn't know the whole gun rights thing, they're just like, they think that we're just, they say the same thing with children, right? We care about guns more than we care about children. I'm like, no.
Oh, I know. I hear that argument all the time. I've lost so many friends over the last year or two after starting Alexo that, most of them live out in Los Angeles. And after the Parkland shootings, I did like a quick little video about, look, we are always so quick. We don't even give the family time to grieve before we start jumping right to stripping away gun rights, and then I go on to proceed to say there's actually like practical things that we could be doing and putting in place prior to stripping everyone's gun rights away.
Yeah.
And taking all the guns off of the street. And, and I go on and I list those. And of course, my friends come back and I unfollowed you on Instagram because you want to see kids get shot in schools. And I'm like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Because if you would have watched the video, you would have heard I said, our stadiums, our concert halls are more secure than our schools are.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't even put those practical things in place to stop this stuff from happening in our schools. We just want to jump right to taking everyone's guns away, which we all know isn't going to do anything.
Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And, Parkland was strange too, because there really was a failure of law enforcement there as well. And I don't understand this whole idea of just, anytime any tragedy happens with a gun, it's like, oh, it's the guns. Like we're gonna take the guns from everybody.
Well, we know it stems so much deeper. I mean, like it's literally a government organization trying to disarm a society. And the easiest way that you can do that is by calling for gun control when a school is shot up. And instead of actually looking at the practical things to do, it is so much easier to play on people's emotions. And we want to start stripping our rights away off of emotional arguments instead of logical arguments. And nobody wants to talk logic in the midst of emotion. That's why I'm always like, let's let this die. Let's let the families grieve. Let's let the people have a moment to actually process this and start thinking what happens so that we can have logical conversations. But we can't ever have logical conversations because everything is so emotional immediately, as it would be. I mean, I would be very emotional if that happened to my child, to one of my nieces and nephews. I mean, but I wouldn't want to start talking about a gun control debate right then. I would want to have time to actually grieve the loss of my children and comfort the other people, and then maybe have a conversation about this.
Well, you would want a solution that actually works. Like, that's the thing, is like, even if it was somebody you knew, it would be like, okay, what am I seeing? Like, we see Columbine, we see Virginia Tech, we see all these things where actually they were gun-free zones. And that's a common denominator there. That's me being logical. Let me try something different.
That's the real 97% statistic, is that all of this stuff happens in gun-free zones.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, we'll keep that. Let's just repeal the Second Amendment.
I know.
That's a much better step, right?
I know. Most of these criminals are cowards, and if they had somebody shooting back, somebody doing something back to them, or we made it a little bit more difficult for them to actually be able to get inside the building, they like easy targets. They like ease. They want to fulfill and carry out their crazy thing that they have in their head as easy as possible. And they know at schools nobody is going to stop them and nobody is going to do anything about it.
Right. And it was just like the shooter that was in Colorado and at the Batman movie. And he looked online and chose the movie theater that had a no gun policy and went there. Because there's actually a lot of movie theaters in Colorado where you could carry a gun and it wouldn't be an issue. But
all the movie theaters in Texas have like the little no weapons sign with like,
and you're like, that's cute.
And I'm like, that doesn't count. And
how adorable.
I don't go to the movie theater. I actually don't even go into movie theaters that don't have like stadium seating. Like I want the stadium seating, and I want the very top row over here where I can look down over the entrance. I mean, and I'm not paranoid. I still enjoy my movie, but guess what? I'm going to position myself in the best place to be able to take a shot or do something. And I can see them coming. So yeah, I don't go to movie theaters anymore that don't have like high stadium seatings. And that's just a choice I make for my own safety.
There's like psychopathic people who want to do crazy things. So, and that's really why we all do what we do, right? Is because we're trying to protect ourselves and the people we love and the people of our country just in general.
Yeah. I find it fascinating that those people, I know, like, even I'm thankful that you're in those movie theaters. And I'm sure an anti-gun person in that situation would be thankful that you were in that movie theater. Isn't it crazy?
Absolutely.
Because there's somebody.
Anti-gun friends, I'm like, look, we can talk all day long that you hate firearms or whatever, but if someone were to come in here right now and I actually stopped it and saved your life, would you be happy about that, or would you rather all of us just get shot and killed?
Yeah, like all of us just die right now.
Yeah.
And you think that would be 100% obviously the answer, but I've talked to you on your show about where I've had girls crying to me like, why would you use violence against violence? Again, if it was in that situation, I know. If we were in that situation, would they still be upset in that situation? I don't know. I feel like you don't know until you're in that actual situation. But from what I've heard from people who've been in situations like that, where they were anti-gun until like something was happening, then they're like, go call the gun guy because he has the guns.
Right. Well, they would want to call the gun guy. They would want to call the cops to come and stop the bad guy with the gun, with a good guy with a gun. But guess what? The cops are 7 minutes away.
At least, how many and sometimes the cops
go through in 7 minutes. But the thing is like they would call somebody that they knew could stop the guy with the gun. They'd call somebody with a gun to stop the guy with a gun.
Well,
So
that's the thing.
had somebody there with a gun to stop the guy with a gun.
We live also, that's part of thinking about America and how thankful we are that when we say law enforcement, in our minds, we think usually trustworthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my parents come from Nigeria, and they talk about how many times they're lucky if maybe they can bribe one of the cops to come to their house and save them. Most of the time, it's not going to happen. A lot of different countries. When I was talking about that situation, I was thinking about this man. He's actually on the board for the NRA, and he was talking about how he's from Puerto Rico, and when the whole flooding happened and everything, I mean, it's still a travesty right now. Going back home, they all knew he was a pro-gun guy. And so he comes back, the lights are out, everybody's vandalizing everybody's homes and everything like that. And the first person they're calling is him because they know that he was a gun guy, yet they were all anti-gun until that situation. But yet the police aren't coming because it's a flood, it's a hurricane. No one's there right now. There's no lights, there's nothing. So it's just you and these people who want to take your property, who want to take your life. And it's only that person who is exercising their Second Amendment rights who's going to be able to save the day.
Yep, absolutely.
It's really crazy too, because and I do have one question from the live chat, but I do think it's crazy as well, because the same people who want to repeal the Second Amendment are also the people who say that policemen are like literally hunting blacks or something. You know, it's like, I don't understand, or that they want. They think that, and I've said this on the show before, but they think Trump is literally Hitler, but yet they want him to confiscate all of our weapons. So it's like, okay, so the police just want to kill black people. Trump is Hitler, but you don't want any of us to have a means to protect ourselves.
I know.
Gotcha.
I know.
Makes sense.
The question from the live chat, which I do think is interesting, and I'm going to pitch it to you ladies first, which is that, to what extent, if at all, should we educate children about firearms, especially given that there are these shootings happening?
Well, here's what I'll say. Like, I think every family has to decide for themselves, like at what age they're comfortable doing that and how they want to do it. I only can speak from my experience as a child because I don't have children, but I have nieces and nephews. I just know that my dad taught us from a very young age, because we did have firearms in the house. He was a hunter. He took a revolver with us every time we went on a road trip. We knew that dad's gun was under the chair. I mean, under the seat, probably not the safest place to put it, but we knew it was there, and we always associated it with protecting the family. And so from a very young age, my dad taught us how to use them, taught us, don't touch these unless it's in a situation where you need to use it to protect the family. My dad, was a pastor, and he traveled a lot and did like foreign mission trips. So he was gone a lot. So he would always be like, okay, the shotgun is underneath the bed. It's loaded. If you need it, remember how to use it and da-da-da. So he taught my mom, he taught us, and then outside of that, none of us ever wanted to go play with the guns underneath the bed. Now, that's our experience, because we were girls. We didn't really care. We knew that they were there. We knew if we needed to use them. So now, do I advocate for every family just leaving loaded shotguns underneath the bed? No. Because I think that if your kid doesn't know them, that can be a very dangerous situation. So I think that you have to be a responsible parent and decide for you and yourself. Like, if you're not going to teach your kids about guns, then you need to lock them up and keep them away, and, make sure it's very, very safe. And you also don't know what other kids are coming into your house.
Exactly.
Or don't know about them, or what their experiences are with firearms. So, I think it's just comes down to responsibility. We're adults, people. Like, we need to be responsible, and we need to be safe, and you need to figure out what that looks like for you and for your family. But for me, if I had children, I would start teaching them from a very young age, because we have guns in the house, because I am an advocate for this stuff. Yes, I teach my 5-year-old nephew about, we take it in stages. Like, even with his Nerf guns, like we're talking gun safety, and we've, I think, advanced to the BB gun now, so he can actually be cups off of the back of the fence, but he had to prove that he kept it pointed in a safe direction, that he knew where the safe direction was, that his finger was off the trigger. I mean, like, we started learning when he was 5 about BB gun safety. And they were like, if you can prove to us that you're responsible, I mean, I don't know what age that's going to be. You can go hunting with Poppy, you know? So that works for our family. It doesn't work for everybody's family that way. So I can't tell you what the magic age is, but I think you should definitely start talking to your kids about them and what they can do and how destructive they can be if not utilized properly. As early as you can, so that they start gaining a healthy respect for and a healthy fear of the firearm.
Love it. All right. Did you have a question?
Oh, well, I mean, I have comments too. I always have comments. Yeah, when I was growing up, my dad, he had a rifle, and I remember I was pretty little. He showed me what it looked like and where he kept it, but he showed like it was locked. Like even if I wanted to get into it, I couldn't. He just wanted me to know where it was in the event, I don't know, in case something happened to him or something like that. But now that I am older and that I have kind of become proficient in firearms like myself, he's kind of, you know, he's shown me more about it and like talked to me more about it, show me how to access it if I need to, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I just think one of the big things is to make sure that, like you said, that your kids understand like that it's something dangerous, and then it's also that I don't know, you're kind of with them while you're guiding them through that process, you know? And it's the same thing with again with my father. I would get to sip like a little bit of whiskey, even if I was like a little kid, right? Like I might be like 10 and I might get to have a little sip of whiskey. But in general, like the liquor was kept in a place where I couldn't get to it. I wasn't supposed to have it. I was told that, you know, this could make you really sick if you have this, you know? So it's all about, it's the same thing. There's plenty of dangerous things in your home. It's just about making sure that your child kind of knows.
Right.
With that being said, I would never just be like, oh, 5-year-old kid, like here's a gun. Like good luck with that. Like don't do that, audience. I'm not condoning that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want
to be with a car. I mean, like there's a reason why you take driver's ed and you learn how to drive a car with an experienced person prior to getting in that car, because that car, when in the hands of someone that's not educated and trained, is a deadly weapon.
Absolutely.
You know, it's no different than that. So, and you have to teach kids about how a car can be very destructive as well. And hopefully they have a healthy respect, and that's why they treat the car. They follow the laws, they follow the speed limit, they put their seatbelts on, they go through the safety measures within a car so that car is not used as a deadly tool. It's the same thing with a firearm.
Or like a Boy Scout learning how to use a pocket knife.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Because they're all tools. That's really cool. So I'll check the live chat one more time. I know we've been streaming for kind of a while. Let's see. When seconds count, the police are only minutes away.
Yeah, I was trying to remember that one.
Yeah.
It's very true. I mean, you don't have time. I saw this video, and I don't know if it's a real video or not. That one of that girl that guy pulled up and got out of his car, and she had time to pull her firearm and shoot him, and it was literally a matter of like 2 seconds. I mean, like it was so fast. Like, no, you don't have time to call the cops. You
barely have time to get your gun out, let alone get your phone out and be dialing.
Right. If we had it on body, thank God. I'm like, that girl wouldn't have even had time to dig in her purse.
Yeah.
To find it, you know? So, yeah.
Well, Amy, while we're waiting for any more comments that we have, can you tell us more about how people can follow you in Alexo and what you're doing and what do you have next?
So basically, I mean, our main forms of communication are Instagram, and that's, you can follow us along. And actually, I'd love for you to follow us along at Alexo Athletica. That's an Alex with an O. And then I have a personal account too, the Amy Robbins, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well. We're not super active on Twitter. Maybe I can get a much younger college age intern or something that loves Twitter.
You should just get me to do it because I'm going to get you in trouble. But
I'd offer to do it, but I'd definitely get you in trouble.
Yeah, but that's Twitter. If you're not getting in trouble on Twitter, really, I mean, are you relevant?
I don't know. And then our website is just alexoathletica.com.
Awesome. Yep. And can anybody, do you have a public appearance coming up soon that people wanted to, meet up with you or anything like that soon?
Actually, yes. I'm going to be at Frontier Justice. It's a store, if you're in the Kansas, Missouri area. They've got a really cool thing, Mother's Day weekend. They're putting on a huge, like safety classes. And we're doing like a big pop-up shop there. They are expecting thousands of people to come through. And so that's Mother's Day weekend, I believe, on Friday and Saturday, whatever that weekend is. I think it's May
12th.
I think something.
Yeah.
And so I will be there on Friday and Saturday. We're switching between both stores. I'll be at the Kansas location and the Missouri location. So if you're in that area and you want to come by, bring your wife, bring your kids. It's going to be a really fun event. So yeah.
And here's some free advertising for you. Really, the products at Alexo Athletica are great. They're such high quality. And even if you're not trying to carry a weapon in there, like it's just so much easier. There's so many pockets.
Your phone.
And those yoga pants, like you can put anything in there. So
it's got 9 pockets in your pants.
Yeah. And let's just for the record, I see all these like Lululemon Fabletics like talking about pockets now. I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Amy already did this 2 years ago.
I know.
So I'm glad that you're trying to catch up now. But
we knew it was a matter of time. We just knew. But I was like, I don't have to worry about Lulu and Fabletics ever putting like pockets for your weapons in your pants. We've got like a one-up on them. They might have 2 pockets. I got 9 pockets.
Yeah.
So you can put a lot. You can pack those things out like with whatever you want. It's your pockets. It's your choice.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
I like it. It's your pockets, your point. my pockets, my choice.
Exactly.
That's going to be the new feminist message.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, hey, well, the feminists always want to argue it's my something, my choice. I'm like, well, it's my pockets, my choice. So why don't you guys get on board that bandwagon with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much, Amy, for joining us. It's really a blessing to have you with us.
Yeah, and thank you for being gracious with our technical difficulties.
Absolutely. I understand. We've been there before and had that happen. So thank you guys so much for having me on the show. If y'all need anything at all, just reach out to us through Instagram, Facebook, and we would be more than happy to answer all your questions.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much, Amy. We'll see you.
You're welcome. See y'all soon. Bye.
All right. Bye, girl.
You know what? I actually don't know how to connect out of here.
I love it. Is it the little phone?
The phone. All right, I got it. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Okay.
Well, I feel a little bit better now because that would be us too. I don't know how to. That would be so us. That was such a great interview. I love Amy. She's awesome.
Yeah, and thanks everyone who's still watching for tuning in. I'm glad you guys could see Amy Robbins. She's fabulous. I remember the first time I met her, I was just like, this woman is amazing.
Yes.
She inspires me every day.
Aww,
so
sweet.
She really does. If you're still watching Amy, that's definitely true. Let's see. Frank asks if Alexo has anything for men.
Oh, oops. That would have been a great Amy question.
Yeah, that would have been a great question for her.
Come on, Frank. You could have asked that earlier.
He actually might have.
He might have asked that. Sorry, dude. No, they don't have anything. I can answer that for you. No, they don't have anything right now, but I mean just active carrywear is what the focus is. So I don't think that she couldn't in the future, but I can't speak for her. But right now they do not have anything.
But hey, we were talking about entrepreneurship, right? I mean, that's a market. There you go. That's a market opening. If you think there's a desire or a demand for like athletic wear for men to carry.
Now, Amy, if you are planning on putting a line out, I am so sorry.
I know. I just said there's a market
because I know and that's why I wanted to talk about their husband and wife team, and I love that because I know her husband, and it just definitely goes to show that sometimes you think, especially as the feminist message is, when you get married, everything like you just have to struggle even to have a successful life afterwards because he's gonna bring you down and you can't do all the things that you want to do and the kids are gonna I know, right? And it's like, and sometimes that that's played in my head several times, like, okay, I'm getting married, I'm gonna have kids, and then can I still do the things I want to do? Well, God made marriage, okay, and he did it not because you're gonna get married and then like your life starts going down afterwards. It's quite the opposite. You have 2 people trying to do the things that one person was trying to do. As that's why it's important to marry someone who has the same vision. But anyway, she has an amazing husband. And I brought that up because I was thinking maybe he wants to do a male line. Maybe that's what I was thinking. I don't know why I brought that up, but I think it's important to know that she's married and that they're doing great things together because of it.
Mm-hmm. There's actually a lot of good entrepreneur like teams.
Yeah,
too,
that is
so.
True. That is true.
Frank says he did ask that question a while ago. I'm sorry.
Oh, he did. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, I also it is something that I think about. I think part of the problem with that is that, or at least a lot of the men I know who carry, they're much more comfortable putting it in their pants or something, like just like tucking it into their back, like the back of their jeans.
Without a holster?
I mean, they use a holster, but it'll be like an inside of the top of their pants holster. So I don't know if they're buying like specifically pants meant to carry versus just getting like holsters that clip in. Whereas for me to put like an interior holster in my jeans, like it would just look so weird, like
it's tighter.
That's because our jeans are so tight,
and it would print.
Yeah,
so that's the big thing too.
Yeah, it'd be like a shape of a gun on my butt.
What is that?
Like that girl has a gun in her pants. It'd be very obvious.
That is true. Yeah.
So maybe that's part of the reason why there hasn't been another line like that. But I'm still, and Amy doesn't know this, but I've been toying with like trying to have my own. Or like trying to entrepreneur style a line of like purses and handbags.
Oh, please. I was just thinking about, I was like, can you please give me, please?
Because I'm like, maybe I could like buy a sewing machine and like make a purse and see if it doesn't look awful.
Just don't put rhinestones on it. You're good. Oh, that's half the market.
There's never going to be any rhinestones on anything that I make. Let's see. Yeah. I think we're good on that.
Yeah.
On the live stream question. But thank you so much for tuning in, everyone.
Yes. This was Trigger Warning 2A with Antonia Okafor.
And Nina Prevot.
And you guys can actually start, if you guys support the show and like what we're talking about us, like what we're talking about and want to continue to support us, we actually have a Patreon account, Trigger Warning 2A with the same name. So become a Patreon.
Yeah, or a patron.
Patron. Yeah. Don't become the website.
But we're gonna warn you, the site is still under construction on Patreon, but it is up and it does exist. And
it does. I love it. So it does exist,
it
guys. Exists.
But just bear with us while we're still working out all the kinks and getting different tiers set up and stuff like that. But
yeah, and you can help us get to finally like a legit studio one day instead of a basement.
What do you mean? The studio is so legit. Also, if you guys want to like and subscribe, that always helps us out. And our social media is in the description. So
and if you have any questions or anything, put your questions or your posts and put hashtag Trigger Warning 2A. We actually are the first ones to ever have that in Instagram. So I was like, okay, we're gonna start something. So just start tagging us on that. We don't have an Instagram account yet, but you can definitely put us in the hashtag comments and we will get to you.
Slowly but surely, baby steps.
Yes, baby steps. And we won't forget your comment or question before the actual person leaves.
we'll check the chat before the guest leaves next time.
Yes, you will get there. But love you guys. Oh, if you're going to be at the NRA convention this week, I will be there. Are you going to be there now? No. You're like last minute. I will be there Thursday through Saturday. I will be at the Kimber booth actually on Friday after Trump speaks, because that's usually the best time to do it anyways. So be sure to come and hang out with me. I also did promise that I was going to talk about reveal a special announcement. If you're on Twitter or Instagram, you probably already know this, but I would be remiss not to tell you guys our community that I am running again for the NRA board for 2020. I'm running for both the nomination committee and running for what's the other one? Oh, petition. So yeah, if you guys want to support me, we're gonna have that. I'm gonna be talking about that quite often until Nashville 2020 when people vote for people. So please be voting for me.
And you know she should be on that board. Okay? Anyone who's watching this knows that Antonia is more than deserving of being on either or on the board by either means.
Oh, so, thank you. Thank you.
So please support Antonia in her and her journey for that.
Thank you. If you want to hear more about it, or learn more about it, it's on www.antoniaokafor.com. And then there's a whole section on the NRA board if you need more information when it comes to how to vote and all that great stuff, and why you should vote for me, in case those who are actually watching us right now needs another reason to, but it's okay. You should be informed. So
this is true.
Yeah, but good to see you guys again, and we will see you guys again here next Monday with a new special guest, or not. We'll find out. We'll find out. You'll find out at least. And yeah, so have a good night.
Thanks for watching, guys.